So are we now at a crossroads between the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and the Larceny Barrel Proof in terms of which one is the automatic buy over the other? That we're going to tackle here on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me as always. So this is interesting. We are now, in my opinion, at a crossroads of where automatically in the past the go-to was between these two, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof over Larceny Barrel Proof, right? Now I feel like we are either much closer or the tides are kind of changing here. So that we're going to kind of tackle a little bit here, give you guys an idea again of both profiles, and then in my opinion, which one at the end of the day am I going to spend my or you are going to spend your hard-earned money on. So let's tackle a little bit of the details between the two just to give you an idea of side by side. We are going to do equal releases. These are both the most recent releases here in 2025, the C925 ECBP and the C925 Larceny Barrel Proof. So some of the details on the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C925. So this one, again, 129 proof. It is the highest proof, but the lowest age stated ECBP that they've released here to date. Now, highest proof in terms of the 2025 releases. Mash bill 78 corn, 10% rye, 12% malted barley. It is age stated as 9 years, 1 month. So as I mentioned, the lowest age stated Elijah Craig Barrel Proof so far to date. And MSRP on this one's going to be about 75 bucks. Now here with the Larceny Barrel Proof, the C925, this was coming in at 119.6 proof. Mash bill on this was 68% corn, 20% wheat, 12% malted barley. Again, non-age stated. However, they mentioned that their barrels within these blends are anywhere from 6 to 8 years old, and the MSRP on this is 65 bucks. So we're going to dive into both of these. We're going to try them side by side as I sit here today and give you, I guess, my opinion on, what you should be spending your money on as well. So let's dive into this here and give you guys a little idea of what both of these have to offer. All right, first up, tried and true Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch C925. Oak, Luxardo cherry, very typical of the ECBPs. Beautiful brown sugars. Lots of those baking spices. Like, it was a nice batch. Early on, I remember when I did the review, nothing was kind of jumping out. Definitely was not as good as the B525. That was a really, really nice batch this year. Overall, I'd say a very tried and true Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Feels like a really nice, barrel proof bourbon overall. So let's go ahead and give this one a try and see what it has to offer. Almost feels like from the time I did the review, this has gotten a little bit brighter. A lot of baking spice right up front, nice kind of heat. Again, 129 proof. You're going to get some of that heat and all of that behind it. Again, bright. There's a little bit of an effervescence to this. A lot of oak, a lot of caramel, a lot of vanillas. Again, very tried and true. Finish on it doesn't feel like overly long. Felt like that kind of sat, dissipated a little bit. Did get some of those kind of like fruit layers that were there as well. Hints of some baking chocolate. Nice baker's spice, things along those lines. I do enjoy always the oak influence that the ECBPs have. And again, that's something that people need to digest on their own, is if they are more of an oak fan and like what they enjoy about a really nice Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. As good as this one was, admittedly, it wasn't necessarily my favorite. I'll at some point do a blind of A, B, and C batches just to see exactly how they stand out amongst, each one of them head to head. But overall, very solid, very good bourbon. Again, you can't get away from the fact that at 75 bucks, it still feels like a tremendous value. Even with an age statement of 9 years, 1 month, we know that that's the minimum age within this blend. So again, you could have some higher ages that are in there, but overall, I still feel like the ECBP is a really good, 3-time-a-year release. And for me, they always basically become a buy just because of what they are. So let's go ahead and kind of jump over now to the Larceny Barrel Proof Batch C925. Again, give you a little idea of what this flavor profile is, and then kind of dissect both of these together. Try to establish which one feels like a better value, maybe which one seems like a better overall profile, and at the end of the day, which one you should ultimately be spending your money on. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the final release here of 2025, the Larceny Barrel Proof C925. This is where the profile to me changed, and what prompted me to want to do this side by side or head to head was how much different this profile was ultimately than any of the other Larceny Barrel Proofs before. And what got me thinking is the shift happening of which one you prefer over the other? But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Let's kind of keep after this and see what else this has to offer. Yeah, I love the heavy, dark fruit that this has. It's different than what you used to get, in my opinion, of a lot of the raspberry, strawberry kind of notes, more of that summer fruit. This is now shifted where it feels much more like a really heavier, darker, wheated bourbon, but with that heavier fruit profile. Brown sugars, a lot of vanilla custard. More of that, again, that aggressive wheat that's there, but it's really just ramping up the overall profile of this thing a little bit more. Almost this heavy, like if you could have a wheated frosted flake, that's kind of what this feels like a little bit. Beautiful oak spice that this thing has. Yeah, just overall, I love the darker profile that the Larceny Barrel Proof has. So let's give this one a try and kind of get after this, see exactly what the Larceny Barrel Proof has to offer. Cheers. The one thing I'll say is I think the proof on this hits like really, really just perfectly. That 119.6 proof versus the 129 proof. This came across as much, much hotter. This felt just right. Like it became that perfect sipping proof almost. The flavor, the texture, all of it worked extremely well, like immediately. So that was the first thing that you kind of identify with the C925 Larceny Barrel Proof, was just the overall richness and texture of that whiskey, like right away. It just has this older whiskey profile. Again, very oily, dark chocolate, espresso notes. I had mentioned before that kind of like wheated, frosted flake kind of feel. That's what it has, with a really strong or heavy kind of sweet oak, chocolate, espresso, fruit notes. Like, I mean, it has so much going on for it that it was crazy. This was what really threw me off with this latest batch, was how different ultimately the profile had changed, and ultimately the difference of the two in terms of where they were going. This was the crossroads for me. Was it felt like the ECBP, not that it had become stagnant, but it has gone in so many different directions the past couple of years regarding ages and proofs, things like that, flavor profiles. And as much as the Larceny's, I'll say in the past, had a very consistent like profile to them. They were just very consistent all the way through. And then in this year's release, or the most recent C925, it had all changed for me. This was where this had significantly either caught up and or surpassed the ECBP. But again, getting way ahead of myself. I don't want to get too far ahead yet. I think you get a little bit of that oak and leather, the brown sugars, the fruit, that kind of cherry, heavier, like a darker, richer strawberry, frosted flake, like wheated frosted flake, something along those lines. It just hit me like perfectly. It just felt like it was not only the best release that they have had of the Larceny Barrel Proofs, but a significant jump in terms of what the expectation was for the profile. So you've seen me kind of compare both of these things side by side, giving you a little idea of what you can kind of expect from each. Now the question is, again, referring back to the crossroads of these two releases, specifically the 925 and maybe the anticipation or expectation of where each of these releases kind of continue to go. So if I'm going to break this thing down in terms of how I did it today, if I'm spending my hard-earned money as you are, which one of these am I going to reach for if I saw both of these next to each other staring me in the face? This year, or this specific release, didn't even really seem to be a fair fight. I would 100% buy and or recommend the Larceny Barrel Proof C925 over the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch C925. The difference in the profile and where each one of these have gone, what I feel like you're getting value-wise, even though they're both, I think, fantastic values, I think the Larceny Barrel Proof at 65 bucks, at almost 120 proof, barrels, aged between 6 and 8 years old. However, I'd say they feel like maybe there's some older whiskeys that are in there that are maybe changing this profile a little bit. But overall, and at the end of the day, my suggestion would be, if you're looking at both of these on the shelf at the same time and you can only choose one, I would 100% recommend the Larceny Barrel Proof batch C925, both day and night. So there you have it. Now you let me know, am I crazy? Like, where am I at with this whole thing? For me, it was an easy decision between both C batches here in 2025. I would 100% again go with the Larceny Barrel Proof batch C925. But again, I want to hear from you. I want to know your thoughts, how you enjoyed both. Maybe you were more of a fan of the C925 Elijah Craig Barrel Proof versus the Larceny. Maybe you don't like weeders, whatever it may be. I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and let everybody else know. That's important as well. So there you have it. My suggestion, again, if you're going to spend your hard-earned money, reach for the Larceny Barrel Proof batch C925. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Greatly appreciate it. Hopefully that was helpful for you. If you were kind of, caught between a rock and a hard place and you didn't know which one to buy, there would be my suggestion of maybe lean a little bit more towards the Larceny Barrel Proof batch C925. So with that being said, thank you again, guys, for tuning in today. Greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook and Instagram, those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel and become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check out that Patreon link in the description below. That down there with a lot of other great things for you as well. So until next time, cheers. And remember, it's about the journey and not the destination.
Get out the way, I've been feeling myself, I've been trying to keep it all on track. I can tell you took your time, I've been thumbing through your gram like that. Bring my energy back, girl, you're something like the sunlight. Girl, you're something like the sunshine.